Okay, thanks for joining everybody that's on the call, and thanks, Steve, for coming on. This is going to be a call to explain more about the mitochondria testing that Steve offers. It's a test that myself and a few of my friends have had done because I've known Steve for a couple of years now. We met through the company Juice Plus that I work for, and Steve is our amazing photographer at the events. So he's known me for a couple of years and has snapped me doing my public speaking in very nervous states. So I've known him for a couple of years, therefore trust him implicitly. And when we discussed about my condition of ME and the problems that I still do suffer with, Steve mentioned about the mitochondria testing and what the supplements and things that could potentially do, and it made so much sense to me, and it made a lot more sense to my condition than anything that any doctors kind of ever explained to me. It's not just about ME, it's about a multitude of different problems that you can have, and these are all listed on Steve's website, and I did a post about them the other day. So this is not like, we're not trying to say this is any cure for any medical condition. This is literally just to say that there is a test that could potentially show that your mitochondria are faulty, and that those could be fixed, and that could then improve symptoms of various different ailments that you may have. So I'm no expert in this. I'm only on day 2 of my supplements, and don't know whether they're going to work or not, but I'm excitedly optimistic that they will. But I thought it was best that I know that a lot of people have had a lot of questions about the test, how it works, what the process is, what the price is, and things like that, and what mitochondria is, because I'd never really heard of it before, but there is actually a lot of research out there about it. So I'm going to hand over to Steve and let Steve tell us all about the theories and the science behind it all, and hopefully that will help everybody. I've got a few questions at the end to ask if those haven't been covered in what Steve says, and then this is hopefully going to get posted in our support group, and if you have any questions pertaining to your personal circumstances, probably best to directly message Steve with those rather than have them on this call in a public forum. So over to you, Steve.
Thanks very much, Sally, for asking me to come along and explain a little bit more about mitochondrial health. Firstly, let me just explain what the mitochondria is, because a lot of people aren't really aware of what that is. They've heard of the term mitochondria, but not sure what it is. Think of it in this sense, that every cell in your body has got to have energy to be able to do whatever it needs to do. And the energy comes from a little, if you like, battery pack within the cell. And the battery pack is responsible for giving the cell the energy to be able to do whatever it's designed to do. So if it's a muscle cell, it'll obviously need more power than if it's, say, an eyeball cell, or a cell in your tendons that have got a stretch would have more power than a cell that's in the fingernail, for example. So think of it as just being a battery. Now, if, let's say, you've got a really nice car, it's a brand new car, it really runs really, really well, but you go home one night and you go in and you've accidentally left the lights on and you drain the battery, you come out in the morning, no matter whether it's a brand new car or not, if the battery's flat, it's not going to go anywhere. And so that's pretty much what happens with mitochondrial problems. Is there are lots of things that can affect the mitochondria, because mitochondria, the battery pack, if you like, is it's descended from bacteria. Before we were evolved as human beings as we are now, 1.7 billion years ago or thereabouts, we were all just bacteria, and bacteria evolved and became functional aerobically and anaerobically. And then after a period of time, when we've evolved into being human beings, our cells started to do specific things, and they needed to be told how to do these things by the DNA, but they all had to have energy. So things that can affect the mitochondria are things that can affect bacteria. So antibiotics, x-rays, mammograms, stress, toxic stress, all those sorts of things. Anything can affect what's going on at that cellular level. And if over a period of time, the systems within your body start failing to adapt, they're not able to operate efficiently. So let me just quickly read something. This is this system. I'll explain how it came about and how I use it. Was invented by or developed, should I say, by a chap called Dr. Michael Kuchera. And he says that the fundamental condition of every living organism is its integrity and stability of its own internal environment. And in order to secure this fundamental condition, the organism is endowed with systems, and these permanently control the stability of the internal environment and regulate all the deviations and steady the state errors. This means that the system should permanently, at every single moment, collect data about the parameters of its internal environment. It should process them and then secure regulating measures to reach the stability over and over. Basically, what that means is your whole body is monitoring every single millisecond, every single thing that's going on within inside you and with outside of you. So if something is to cause damage, like let's say, for example, if you're getting a little bit too hot, then your body will automatically adjust itself to be able to cool you down by making you sweat. If you're getting a little bit too cold, then your body will adapt itself to make you shiver to generate heat. So your body is always adapting to its internal and external environments. But that also goes with regards to food and toxins and eliminating waste and all this, that, and the other. So now there are some people that have all sorts of illnesses. Chronic fatigue is one, which Salli, I know, is very keen on us talking about. But there are all sorts of other things. And the thing is with people who are feeling a little bit unwell, they go to the doctors and the doctor says, yes, you have this illness or you have this problem. And that might be, let's say, an underactive thyroid, or it might be a hay fever, or it might be diabetes, or doesn't really matter what it is. But there's basically, when you get a clump of symptoms together, when you get a clump of symptoms which they label as being something, we think that that itself is the problem. But it isn't. Basically, this is a culmination of a load of symptoms of something else that's going on at a much deeper level. So if you think, you've probably all seen a picture of an iceberg in the sea, and you can see the little peak at the top. There's the sea level, and there's your little iceberg peeking out at the top, and you think, crikey, that's a bit big, that's enough to sink a ship or whatever. But you don't see underneath it, there's this massive area of ice underneath it. And when you have your symptoms showing up at the top, you're not aware that the systems underneath have been failing for quite a long time. But because our bodies are designed to adapt to the stress that we put them under, quite often you're not even aware that things are being changed or adapted at some level. So you just carry on functioning as if everything's okay. And it's only when all of those systems are starting to fail that you then start to see some symptoms. So sometimes when you've got the symptoms, the problem's been there for quite a while. You don't suddenly have a heart attack, for example, and you've never had a problem before. If you've had a heart attack, it means something has been going on for quite some time. You don't get cancer just at the click of a finger. You'll get cancer because something has been building up for quite a long time. And it's the same with all illness and disease. Your body is able to adapt and to repair itself, to communicate with itself, to be able to change about what's going on at a cellular level. So one of the things that Dr. Kuchera developed was a way of measuring the state of health at a cellular level inside your body. And this was done because he has been working with the Russian cosmonauts on their Mars program and the American astronauts on their Mars program as well. Because when astronauts go into space, they are subjected to all sorts of stress that we are not subjected to down here, cosmic radiation being one of them, and weightlessness and all those sorts of things. And when the astronauts come back from being in and out of space, their bodies have been subjected to all sorts of stress that they need to have that resolved. And one of the things that Dr. Kuchera was able to ascertain was that the mitochondria need to be supported so that they can send and adjust all the cells, they can send signals to all the other cells so they can adjust themselves efficiently to restore health as quickly as possible. So mitochondrial health is absolutely critical. Mitochondrial health is, if you like, possibly the most important thing that we can be looking at. It's a medical device, the heart rate variability machine. And so I've got a picture of one here so that you can see. Basically, it's a laptop with software, but you'll see on here we've got these little clamps. And these little clamps clamp onto your wrists and onto your ankles, and they scan your body and measure the frequency of all the cellular activity in your body within the endocrine system, the hormones, the nervous system, and all those sorts of things, to find out the state of health within each of those systems. And what they do is they measure the level of absolute stress and any of the risks that your body is undertaking at that time. But also it's measuring your body's reserves in that your body has got to have energy reserves and resources to be able to operate efficiently. Much like Sally's drinking a little think of water at the moment, she's replenishing her reserves of water, and that's what we all need to be doing at every level. So what we can also do is to measure the effectiveness of some of the things that we do. So, for example, there's a lot of us that take different supplements for different things, and we're quite keen on making sure that we get a good healthy diet. Well, this machine is able to measure the success of whatever the supplements are that you're taking. And so that's one of the things that this machine is specifically designed to do, is to ascertain where there is a deficiency within the mitochondrial level, and then prescribe specific supplementation to be able to restore the health of the mitochondria in that system. So that system is then able to work efficiently, so that your body can adapt to whatever the stress is that it's under, so that the system, the health inside your body, starts to restore itself to normal. And that might sound very complicated, but let's just put it in very simple terms. If your battery's flat, it needs to be replaced or recharged. And that's what these supplements do. And some of you may have seen one or two people recently that I know Salli introduced me to some of her friends, and one of her friends has been having spectacular results. Somebody who couldn't walk even a year ago, who's having to shuffle across the floor, use a Zimmer frame, and this week we've been seeing her out walking, running, singing and dancing. And so this is not necessarily because I've fixed anything. This is just because we've looked at what the problem was and looked at supplementation to restore the body's system so that the body can start to repair itself. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And I do have to just say about Katie, I think she's on the call as well at the moment. Having known Katie for 2 years, and having seen her, like we all sort of became friends through other supplements that we all take that have all had a really great effect on our bodies, and we've all improved our lives a lot from that. It would have been fascinating. I keep thinking now, it would have been fascinating to have that test 2 years ago now, or 3 years ago before I started taking the other supplements, and see what the damage was then and to what it is now, because I know that my body has changed so much in the last 3 years, and I'm really excited for how much it could change in the next couple of years, you know, just to see what the difference is. But I never, like, when I spoke to you and I was like, yeah, definitely coming for the test, sounds amazing. And I spoke to Katie and she was like, oh my God, it's about mitochondria. She's like, I've been looking at this for ages. It looks really interesting. And she booked straight away and came straight down to you like the next day, I think. And to see the difference, like we were like, well, you know, you've got to be skeptical about these things. I was skeptical about Juice Plus when I started it. And I was like, me and Katie were like, well, you know, it might work, it might not work. You've got to be skeptical, because at the end of the day, I think that's just a natural form. You know, is there anything out there that's going to help us at all? But we never expected, like in the 2 weeks, like the difference within 10 days, 2 weeks in Katie, and now how she is now, literally seeing her walking at a fast pace, and running around looking after her children and playing and laughing and being, and actually being like, I want my kids to come home now, so because I'm bored. Like that's never happened, you know. So yeah, it's amazing to see what that's happened. I'm excited about what it is, and like you say, it's not necessarily about curing any illness. For me, it's just made me seriously question: did I ever have ME? Because really, there is no test for ME. It is just a case of eliminating lots of other things, and all my tests always came back normal, as anybody with ME and Fibro will find that the 90% of their hospital tests come back absolutely normal. And by process of elimination, they go, well, you've got all of these symptoms and these kind of match this, so that's what it is. But what's to say that if we can fix some of those symptoms, that I ever had this in the first place? And it's not just my mitochondria that just needed fixing. So it's really exciting. So yes, definitely.
So you've got some questions.
Yeah, and one was, how would this impact people on medication for other health conditions such as underactive thyroid?
Underactive thyroid, again, is a label for a bunch of symptoms, and the hormonal system itself is under stress, which is what's causing the thyroid to be underactive. So this does help autoimmune disorders, and underactive thyroid is an autoimmune disorder. However, we're not at liberty to say anything about any medication with regards to changing that medication or stopping that medication. That's down to the GP and the patient to have a chat about themselves. Unless you went to see Dr. Kuchera himself, because he is a medical doctor, he would be able to say, yes, stop this or carry on with this and the other. The one thing I would say, though, there are some vitamins and minerals that people are taking off the shelf that may interfere with some of the supplementation that Dr. Kuchera is recommending here. For example, if somebody's taking vitamin E, we would recommend that they stop taking that vitamin E, because vitamin E succinate is one of the constituent parts of what's going on within the supplements that Dr. Kuchera recommends. So the vitamin E that you get off the shelf would interfere with his vitamin E succinate. So there are medications-wise, there are some medications that do impact mitochondrial health. There are some, I think, heart medications and some antidepressants or something. But basically, every single person that wants to come along who's on any medications, let us know what they are, and then we can just double check with our team of people whether that is going to be something that they would need to speak to their GP about.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's important that we know we're not saying like this is going to fix any condition and you should just stop taking all your medications, because that's not what the sort of thing that you can advise.
It's irresponsible, really, to do that.
Very much so, yeah. I also just wanted to say that the only reason we are doing this call is simply because it's something that I am decided to try, and I know a lot of people with chronic illnesses, and Steve's not asked me to ask anybody if they would like any more information. I've just gone, shouting from the rooftops, as I do with anything that I think that can help me, that could potentially help somebody else. So this is not for like any financial gain or anything like that. I just want to help spread the word, because if I can help somebody else by feeding them a little bit more information that could help them change their lives, then that's amazing. The other one was, could you give a little bit more information about how it would impact somebody with depression and anxiety?
Anyone who's got any depression, anxiety, those are where there are raised levels of stress chemicals within the body, this and the other. And it's just a highlight of, again, another bunch of symptoms where the body is not in something called homeostasis, which is balance. There are two aspects to the nervous system. Most of us know or we've heard of the autonomic nervous system, but there are two sides to it. You've got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Basically what that means is for you to be able to do something, or let me explain it this way. If you're in a car, you've got the accelerator and you've got the brake. And so you accelerate when you want to move forward, and as soon as you want to slow down, you put the brakes on. Think of that as being your nervous system. Whenever your heart needs to speed up, then that's your sympathetic nervous system sending the signals to speed the heart up. And when the heartbeat needs to slow down, the parasympathetic sends a signal to slow the heart down. So think of the parasympathetic as para as in parachute. So that's more like a slowing down. And the sympathetic is the one where it's more like revving up. Yeah. Now, if you've got anxiety, that's where things are more heightened. That's where you're more alert. When you're depressed, it's more when you're sort of more down. So if you're depressed, that's more likely to be a parasympathetic set of symptoms. And if you're anxious, then that's usually a sympathetic set of symptoms. But they're basically an imbalance within the brain chemicals. So these supplements, which are L-carnosine, flavonoids, and Q10, which are specific blends from Dr. Kuchera, they can help the symptoms of depression and anxiety and other mental health disorders as well. I mean, I was asking them about things like bipolar, and we were talking about autism at the last day that we were with him. And some of these conditions can be affected by better nutrition and better health, specifically mitochondrial health. So even though I personally haven't got any experience with regards to anyone who's autistic, there are lots of references where Dr. Kuchera has had amazing results with people with autism and other mental health conditions.
It's really, really fascinating. I absolutely love this. I think it's just so interesting to know that there's so many things that we just label these days, and actually there's other things out there, that there's other tests out there that could show up something and potentially help it. It's just amazing. The other thing was, could you just explain a little bit about what the test actually reads? So I know that when you did our tests, there was 3 of us that came together at the same time. It read various different readings from each of us, and all of ours came back very, very different, and funnily enough, all very, very accurate to the symptoms that we felt were our causes and our what were really the things that were wrong with us, really. Things that they kind of told us what we already know, but the doctors have always said, no, there's nothing wrong, you know, and it was really interesting. So could you just give a little rough outline of a few things that it reads and what that would mean?
It reads the heart rate and the level of requirement for oxygen that the body needs and nutrients. It looks at the nervous system, the body's level of ability to deal with stress and its resources. It looks at arrhythmias, so if the heart is operating efficiently or whether it's out of rhythm. It's looking at the level of regeneration that the body has got from a resource point of view. It looks at the ability to digest food and your absorption, detoxification, your ability to repair and regenerate. It looks at the immune system, the hormonal system, and your body's ability to adapt to stress. And it looks at the total amount of power that's in the cells themselves. Now, this is very interesting for somebody who's wanting to lose weight. There may well be lots and lots of people who think, well, I've tried to lose weight. I'm on a calorie controlled diet and I exercise, but I still can't lose weight. Your body has got to have enough energy within the cells to be able to burn fat. So there are measurements that we look for people that want to lose weight, where your body's total amount of cellular energy, cellular power, needs to be between certain parameters. And if that level is not within those parameters, let's say it's less, then at that point your body is not going to be able to burn fat. So it's a way of measuring the amount of energy from that point of view as well. It also looks at 4 indicators of risk of sudden fatal heart death. It looks at your ability to burn fat, as we said, and your body's ability to regenerate. So anti-aging is another way of putting it. So lots of people age very, very quickly because of the things that they're doing or absorbing. So they may smoke and they may drink, or they might have lots of trans fats in their diets, and all of those create stress within the body, and the body then has to deal with that by replacing the cells, cellular regeneration and all that far more quickly, which means it's aging far more quickly. So if we can restore that balance within the body, then the body slows down the aging process. In fact, one of the ladies who is Dr. Kuchera's assistant, in fact, who teaches a lot of us what we do, her name's Sherry Dixon. She's just written a book called The Fast Way to Slow Down Aging, which is coming out very soon. It hasn't yet, but we're all keen to read that. Because, I mean, if you think about it, The Fast Way to Slow Down Aging is a brilliant title for a book. Yeah. And so there's lots and lots of things that it can do from that point of view.
Interesting, because my total power score was 9 out of a potential 1 to 2,000. Does that mean I'm going to get really old really quick? I think.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, no, yay.
We're going to speed up your ability to slow down your aging.
That would be fantastic. Okay, so the last thing that has come up repeatedly is the location, where your location is, and obviously are there any other practitioners in different areas, because there's often a lot of people that can't travel to where you are, the price range of the supplements, and the cost of, do you have to pay for your retesting, and do you have to be on these products for life, or are they like a course and so on?
Well, you'll be glad to know they're reassuringly expensive. Basically, I'm speaking for myself, because I know that there are other practitioners around the country and around Europe and the world that do Dr. Kuchera's work. and they may charge a different amount. But I think the general expected fee is £60 for the test. I know myself and a few people that I know of personally do the test for £60. And then if some of the supplements are ordered, it depends really on that person's specific results as to what it is that you have. So there are some people, for example, if you are having cancer treatments or chemotherapy and all those sorts of things, then one of the supplements that we would not want you to have would be Q10, because Q10 promotes cellular growth, and you don't want cellular growth if you have cancer. So we look at a bit of a history about what somebody's illness is to define what are the supplements that are going to best suit that person. But if we just say, generally speaking, because and I do mean in a sweeping generalization, most people would need the L-carnosine complex of nutrients, the Q10 complex of nutrients, and the flavonoid complex of nutrients that Dr. Kuchera has scientifically blended together to work synergistically to get the greatest effect. Now, for a 2-month supply, for the average person, you have 2 carnosine in the morning, 2 in the evening, 12 hours later, 1 Q10 in the morning, and 12 hours later, 1 Q10 in the evening, and 1 flavonoid in the morning. If you're flying on a long haul flight, you would ramp up your flavonoids by having, let's say, 6 before the flight. If you're on a short haul flight, you would have 3 extra before the short haul flight. So generally speaking, your mitochondria supplementation for an average person would be 4 different pots, 2 of carnosine, 1 of Q10, 1 of flavonoids, which would last you around 2 months. And those are £60 per pot through me. I know that there are some other doctors in and around possibly Hardy Street or other people that may be charging a heck of a lot more for those supplements, but I charge just the basic minimum, as most of the other practitioners that I know do as well. So that's £240 for the supplements for the average person for 2 months, plus the test, which is £60. After the 2 months, we require you to come and have another test where we'll ascertain whether you need to carry on with those supplements or whether you will be able to be fine from that point onwards, or whether you just have a maintenance dose. And that test would also, again, be paid for, which is the £60. Now,
going forward, it may be that you either have nothing, you don't need to take any more, and perhaps would you then perhaps be retested in, say, 6 months or something like that to see if your levels would stay the same? Or
yeah, so if somebody comes along and they have a moderately stressed body that needs a certain amount of supplementation, and they come back 2 months later and everything is absolutely perfect, and then we'd say, you're fine. Let's give it 6 months or maybe even a year before you come back for a test. If, however, there's been an improvement but there's still a long way to go, then obviously we will keep you on the supplements for another 2 months and test you again. So it really is the person's own health is indicative of whether they need to have those supplements or not.
Okay, that's really helpful. I think that was all the questions, actually.
You want to know where I was?
Yeah, where you are, and do you, if you're unable to do it, did you mention something about that you're sometimes able to suggest somebody else that may be able to do the test for them in local to there, and then perhaps you would be able to be their practitioner as such that would then be able to feed back the results?
Yes, there's a number of ways to do it. I'm in my clinic here, is in Burnham near Slough. Lovely Slough. It's a beautiful part of the world. Lots of people hate it, but I love it. Slough, which is not far from Heathrow Airport or Windsor and Maidenhead. I've been here for about 15 years. It's very, very easily accessible. And lots of people do travel to me because the M4 is just up the road, junction 7, so it's very easily accessible. I'm sort of equidistant between the M40 and the M4, right in the middle. So there are people that do travel a long way. I know that you've been to see me recently, and 2 or 3 of your other friends who've come from different ends of the country. I've had people travel to see me from Japan. However, some people find that even more than a half an hour journey, because they're not very well, is just too much for them. And in those cases, if there are a number of people in one area, let's say, for example, I've got family in Devon. If there are, let's say, 6 people in Devon, let's say Exeter or something like that, who all want to have the test, then I would be prepared to go down because it would be worth my while going down for 6 people. However, there are other practitioners around the country And there are a number of practitioners I've already recommended people to within the last week or two. I know there's a lady up in Scotland called Eleanor, and I think she's listening in at the moment. Hey, Eleanor, how are you? And Eleanor is up in Aberdeen way, and she's very, very good. And so if there is anyone in Scotland area who wants to see a practitioner, I'd highly recommend Eleanor, as I already have. But there is a website that we are all listed as practitioners on called mitochondrialtherapy.com. And if you go to mitochondrialtherapy.com, look under the practitioners tab, you'll see different people listed. The thing is, it does only say roughly what area they are, like southeast of England, northeast of England, or Scotland. It doesn't really give you what county they're in. And I think, as far as I'm aware, and I might be wrong, but I think I'm one of the most southerly people. So anyone from me, sort of Heathrow area down towards Devon and Cornwall, I think I'm probably the person that's nearest to people in that sort of area. But I think there are people, I'm not sure if there's, I know there's people in the Cheshire, Manchester area. I think there's people in Birmingham. I think there's one or two in London. There's people in Ipswich, Norwich area. And a couple of people up in the northeast, northwest.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think that's all the questions that I have. I don't know. Let me just check if there's anybody who's posted any questions in the chat. I didn't actually see. Is there anything in the chat? No, there's nothing in the chat. So I just need to thank you really for your time, Steve. Honestly, I'm really excited about being on my journey and seeing where the next couple of months take me. And I don't know, it was funny because last night I slept better, and I said, my mum was like, oh, it's like day one of the supplements. I was like, I'm not sure they're working that quick. So it's either the supplements or the fact that I didn't have any kids.
So it does help insomnia. I mean, that is one. Yeah. Insomnia is one of the labels of symptoms that some people are affected by poor mitochondria.
I've suffered with insomnia all my life. I've done hypnotherapy, I've done sleeping tablets, I've done every type of meditation, mindfulness, and everything else tablets that you can throw at me, valerian. But last night I did definitely sleep more soundly, and I was like, I've only taken one lot of tablets, but if it works, it's great. It's a good start. But yeah, so we should be keeping everybody updated with myself. Like I said, Katie's on about week 3, I think, or 4 of her capsules. Kael, Elizabeth, and I all started ours just yesterday. We are going to keep posting in the mitochondrial support group that we set up. Feel free to add any friends, family, anybody that you feel could benefit from this test, or finding out a little bit more, or just picking Steve's brains or Eleanor's brains. If they're around and they're willing to help, then please do. We want to try and help as many people as possible. That's what this is all about. It's about spreading the word about something that I'd never even really looked into or heard of. Katie, I know, she'd done a lot of research on it, but now that I have, I'm like, ooh, I'm even more excited about it, because I know the difference that supplements can really make, because my Juice Plus has obviously helped me for 3 years, and I'm really excited to see if that's taken me this far, then how much further can this take me? So I'll be like on warp speed. I'll come with wearing my cape next time. But thanks ever so much for coming on. And
can I just show you this? I mean, this is I think your friend Elizabeth mentioned this book, which is by Dr. Sarah Mayhill. This is actually quite a good book. This talks about chronic fatigue syndrome and mitochondrial health, and you can get it on Amazon. It's quite a thick, hefty book. But if you're interested in finding out, at cellular level what's going on and understanding your condition and all those sorts of things, it's quite a good read to have a little look through there. It helps you to understand things.
I like the fact it's called mitochondria, not hypochondria, because I think anybody that's got one of our illnesses, like one thing that anybody that's got ME, CFS, Fibro, or any of those conditions that I know of, obviously because that's what I've had, I've always said, doctors are useless. They do tests and then you get either thrown some medications, some antidepressants or whatever, or you're told that there's really nothing wrong with you. And quite often made to feel like it's all in your head. And that's what the hypochondria kind of thing is. So it's interesting that they use the mitochondria, hypochondria thing, because I think that will touch a lot of hearts, actually. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, I will give an update and let you guys know. And if anyone wants me to do another call with Steve in the future, please let me know, and we'll perhaps try and arrange something else in the future. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to stop the recording so that I can post this in.